Oh shit, here we go again. Should probably put a trigger warning on this video or something. See, a lot of us Iranians living abroad think that whenever shit starts to go down in the motherland, that we need to take to social media and do our part and show our solidarity for our comrades back home. It's really nothing more than a way of relieving some of our survivor's guilt. We were privileged enough to split when the going got tough. Not that our lives are sunshine and rainbows, but we dodged a bullet in a very literal sense, leaving the country. But often, instead of just admitting to that, we delude ourselves that we're still fighting from the sidelines. Now, let me just back up for a second. In Iran, there's a thing called the morality police. Now, I think as we can all agree, policing is just terrorism for cowards. While the official mission statement of the morality police is to protect the safety and decency of Iranian society, I think we can all smell that pile of horse shit through an N95 mask while having COVID in a field of daffodils. In reality, this particularly delightful outfit of scumbags are tasked with harassing Iran's women and girls who don't comply with the country's mandatory yet loosely defined hijab laws, as well as, cracking down on musicians, graffiti artists, environmental activists, the real dangers to decency. That's right, a country in grips with crippling foreign sanctions, a worsening economy, and increasingly at odds with pretty much every government on earth except those run by fellow James Bond villains, thinks that its biggest problem is a strand of hair showing through a woman's scarf. So anyway, on September 13th, the morality police arrested and proceeded to beat 22-year-old Zhina, aka Mahsa Amini, literally to brain death. She was taken in a state of comatose to a hospital where her parents were barred from visiting her, and she died 3 days later. Her death was then audaciously ruled as a heart attack by Iranian officials. Zhina's gruesome murder sparked nationwide protests, with women leading the charge, burning their scarves, and facing life-threatening retaliation from the regime head-on. Their bravery is truly impossible to put into words. The rest of the world remains largely unaware. Officials are too busy playing dress-up for the Queen's funeral like it's fucking 1642. But that's a whole other video. These protests have already taken the lives of anywhere between 36 and 100 people, depending on who you ask. They've also led to thousands of arrests, and the Iranian government has cut internet access in order to prevent footage from their latest murder spree from circulating online. Now that last part may sound too high-tech for a government that still pretty much runs on paper and 7th century codes of morality, but worry not, because WhatsApp and Facebook, owned by forgotten Scooby-Doo villain Mark Zuckerberg, helped them out with that one a little bit. We know this because Iranian phone numbers, even outside of Iran, have reported limited access to WhatsApp. So clearly these tech giants are more than happy to help erase part of Iran's history and cover up for mass murders if it means they can carve a little bit of extra space on their platforms for neo-Nazis, pickup artists, transphobes, and whatever the fuck Ricky Gervais is supposed to be. Of course, I don't have to tell you that the internet is way more powerful than that. And I'm gonna put some links below if you wanna check out some of the footage that has gotten out for yourself. I, for one, can't get enough of watching videos of cops eating shit. The problem is, I often miss the ending as I tend to close my eyes when I orgasm. So yeah, that's basically the situation, and it's still unfolding. Now, this is of course not the first time any of this has happened. In 2009, after the police murder of another woman, Neda Agha Sultan, it looked like for a second that the Western world is gonna give a shit. But then Michael Jackson died and everybody just kind of forgot that 70 million people are living under a dictatorship. Just fucking slipped their minds, So I don't really believe in all this social media performative bullshit, even though I'm clearly participating in it right now. And I personally try my best to stand clear of stuff like that, despite the fact that I clearly have a burning desire to spew my ignorance about various topics to anyone jobless enough to listen. And thanks for tuning in. But again, this is not a call for every nitwit with a small following on Instagram and even a smaller amount of knowledge about Iran to start hijacking the Mahsa Amini hashtag and bombarding it with glamour pics accompanied by some vague miscredited quote about freedom or democracy. I'm not dying for the world to know about this because I truly don't think it would matter. For starters, Iranians calling out for the West to intervene are clearly just not following the news closely enough. Who are we exactly hoping to save us? The US with its trillion-dollar military-industrial complex? Do we really want these pack of glorified mass murderers to show up on our land, destroy our cultural heritage sites, and commit atrocities on the way to creating a power vacuum in Iran like they did in Iraq? Do we really think bombs are the best way to achieve peace? And that's not even to mention the fact that the US itself enjoys more than occasionally murdering its own innocent unarmed citizens. Do we want the United Kingdom to step in? I mean, if you think the United Kingdom is a democracy, perhaps the word kingdom isn't providing you with as much context as it should be. Not to mention the UK itself enjoys more than occasionally murdering its own innocent unarmed citizens. Turkey, China, Israel, Russia, all these powerful countries just can't seem to get enough of letting their pack of wild cops loose on the portion of their citizenry too smart and educated to bow down to their barbaric laws. So as much as we like to think Iran is an outlier, we are unfortunately part of the global majority on that one. I just fail to see the distinction between the Iranian police and the American police, or the British police, or the Turkish police. And before all you Iranians jump on me, I'm not saying that life in Iran is even remotely comparable to any of these other countries. Iran may not lead the world by much, but death sentences per capita, we got that one in the bag. But the lesser of two evils in this case is still very much evil. So no, I don't want to call on any foreign governments to step in. Our so-called world leaders are so clueless that while all of this is happening, they are welcoming the Iranian president at the UN. A literal nitwit who doesn't even have a high school diploma. He actually made female politicians and journalists wear a hijab in order to get an audience with him. And these idiots complied. Christiane Amanpour was the only person to decline that request. And of course she did. She's an Iranian woman. She knows exactly what's up. Now don't get me wrong. I'm all for respecting other cultures. And if politicians in the West are scared of coming off as Islamophobic, that's not necessarily a bad thing if you ask me. Islamophobia is, after all, just racism wearing secularism as a disguise. But what these politicians fail to grasp is that the hijab is no longer a cultural issue in Iran. It's a political issue. By recognizing Raisi's request as legitimate, they are siding with the enemy. And again, I'm not disparaging Islam here either. Islam is just another religion, but the Iranian regime is about as Muslim as ISIS. They have weaponized a religion against the very people who still largely believe in it. They've stripped away all that was ever positive about it and turned it into a tool of oppression. So don't get it twisted, no one is protesting the religion here. People are protesting the tyranny. Iran is one of the youngest nations on earth, and the younger generation are also some of the most liberal. We're also extremely educated. We are straight up crushing it in today's science, medicine, robotics, art, and our women pursue higher education in larger numbers compared to men. So whatever image of Iran you have based on what you've seen in the Western media, throw that away. Not all Iranian women want to wear the hijab. They are forced to, and when they don't, they get murdered. So a true champion of women's rights, democracy, and freedom would never bow down to such a policy by wearing a scarf to meet this dimwit. And therein lies the problem. The very people we have elected to deal with our societal and global problems are truly clueless. And what's even more infuriating is that they all follow the same cookbook. Iranian leaders condemned the death of George Floyd while covering their own civilian murders. The US condemns Russia for bombing Ukraine as if we're not all old enough to remember the Bush era. Though, maybe they're all just mad that Russia's bombing white people. What do you think? Turkey condemns the genocide of Uyghurs in China while continuing to deny the Turkish genocide of Armenians. And the circle jerk keeps looping around. So no, definitely don't want foreign intervention. I really don't have a solution. I just know what the solution isn't. I know that me sitting here where I can call our president an illiterate piece of shit and not face consequences for it doesn't make me brave. And it doesn't tell my people back home anything that they didn't already know. I know that I'm not fighting from the sidelines. I escaped a bad situation because I was too scared to fight to change it. I need to live with these choices. The real bravery courses through the veins of Iranians fighting the fight. They don't do it for global awareness. They know the world isn't watching. They know they can be arrested and never heard from again, or murdered, or physically and sexually extorted into confessing to crimes they didn't commit. It's all happened before. In the end, the West won't save us. It can't save us. If there's one thing awareness needs to be raised on, it's how the police works. I mean, think about it. Think of how diverse our world is, how differently our governments operate. Yet the police works the same in every country. And please don't give me that Norway. Look, I'm really glad 5 million predominantly white people up in the North Pole have good lives, but in the rest of the world, where God pays attention, the police is the same. People who sell out their countrymen and women for chump change from the government. Cops are the bottom of the human cesspool. Even terrorists have values and ideals. Cops are just goons for hire. So if there's one thing I want to happen, is for each country to rise up against their own police. Disarm them, defund them, abolish them. Do it while you still have time. In Iran, it's too late to defund the police. The path to significant change is tragically paved with the blood of millions. This is a global problem with a local solution. Work to get rid of the police. And it all starts really small. If you see a kid and they say they want to be a cop when they grow up, make fun of them. Seriously.
What about you, wee boy? What's your ambition? You got an ambition? Policeman? You fucking little cunt. What, you want to fucking police us? Why? Because you get bullied at school? You get bullied at school, and fucking rightly so. You deserve to be bullied, you wee fucking agent of control.
Look, making fun of kids based on race or weight or social status is totally not okay. I think we all know that. But making fun of these dumbasses for their ambitions to police society, now that is tantamount to public service. Believe me, an innocent black man or Iranian woman who gets to live another day will thank you for it. Now, if you want to support Iran, I'm going to post some links below. There's an app you can download to give some of your internet bandwidth to Iranians hoping to get some information out. And this information is valuable. It's part of our history and it's facing erasure. If one day our people do emerge victorious, we want to be able to document our own path to victory and not let the narrative get hijacked as another false achievement of global democracy. But above and beyond that, take action against your own oppressors. Vote out police enablers. Vote out the patriarchy. Everything you think the police does, it doesn't. Everything you think will happen if there are no cops around is already happening. We may be animals, I'm not denying that, but we have evolved past having armed shepherds. This and this alone, I can guarantee you.